Welcome back, everybody. After a crazy weekend, Dukes and Bell, our pre-show. We're on the air with you guys at 2 o'clock today. Day, our executive producer, of course. And Mike and I, we got a lot to chop up. Thank God we got a W for the Falcons heading to the bye week. The worst scenario didn't play out, which was Marcus Mariota coming back into our building and winning. And we'll start there, Mike, because – there were good things. There were a few bad, but let's start with the good. For me, the first good is that all of our stars got involved. Everything that we've wanted since training camp, things that we talked about in the offseason, everybody got involved. Drake London, Pitts, Bijan, the big three did their job, man. And I thought Michael Penix had a hell of a bounce back. So that's where I will start with the good. And I think, that's something you can move on from this week. Regroup and build on. Now, they get a week before the Bills. That'll be a Monday night game, guys, but we're reveling in this W right now because after last week being so bad, this felt really good. And by the way, did you guys see how Carolina lost?
Oh, bad.
That is the NFL.
Right.
That is what we were talking about.
Right. Minnesota was down for much of the game, came back against Pittsburgh. But I'm not going to apologize for beating J.J. McCarthy or Marcus Mariota. We don't apologize for wins. We've had our own injuries to deal with, Carl. And I'm with you. Everything we talked about going back to like summer camp about Bijan in the passing game, Bijan going over a C note. That's great stuff. We're talking about, Bijan, 75 yards rushing and 106 in the air. Being that weapon. You talked about Drake. Guess who sat Drake this week in fantasy? Me. Because I thought, he was trending the wrong way. Didn't think he was right. And of course, he blows up. Mooney's still not 100%, but that's another story. And then Kyle Pitts in the red zone. We got Algier. Used Algier as that four-wheel drive vehicle. Drew West Ham had a great call on the radio. So everything you could ask for. The defense had some sacks, wanted a little bit more pressure, but I'm not going to fault the defense. Another pick for Xavier Watts. And on the bad side, Carl, we'll talk more about on the show. I don't like not being aggressive before the half and not burning the timeouts. We wasted about 36 seconds by not calling a time. We could have maybe had a chance for a field goal before the half. But again, some would say that's nitpicking. But yeah, special teams has got to tighten up. But this is great. 2-2, not the 2-2 we thought we'd have as far as who we lost to. But I'll take it going to the bye. Yeah,
no doubt. As far as, look, there's always things every win that you can build on. And I thought, when you talk about where there could be improvement, look, we still gave up way too many explosive plays yesterday. It kept the Commanders in the game. Fourth down and you allow a touchdown, that was brutal. Right. So those things are the things they've got to get better at and correct. But if you take out 3 explosive plays yesterday, the Commanders, this is a blowout. This is a blowout because Mariota wasn't picking us apart. So it became, them trying to run the ball just to keep us on guard. But I thought that was probably the bad for me. There were 3 moments in that game. One was a special teams play, obviously, the big fourth down play to Debo for a touchdown, and the Marcus Mariota scramble. It killed you. Right. So those things they have to eliminate. But in the big scheme of things, guys, a really good game for the Falcons yesterday. And I just love the way this offense looked yesterday, Mike. This is what we've been saying. Now, can they do that every week? Well, they haven't. I don't know. Consistency is the key. But a lot of the questions we had last week, I felt like were answered.
Yeah. Go, Danny. I just felt that, this is a team that it's not perfect, but I think when you look around the league and look, we are totally fair and totally within our rights as fans and broadcasters to lose our ish over what happened up in Carolina last week. Yeah. That was fair. But this washes some of that taste out of your mouth. And I think there's some things to build on. I guess the Zach thing on the sideline, streamlined communication, certainly a better flow. So that worked. We thought that might have been window dressing. So, yeah, there's some things to build on. But I just think we're not perfect, but there's not many teams in the league. Look at the Packers. Everybody had the Packers as anointed as champs after week 1. They're not there. There's a lot of teams that are just trying to find their identity.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, I think my biggest good was Michael Penix's response to last week's performance.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Did not let that bother him one bit and came out and just executed, damn near a perfect game. He had some misreads here and there, but overall, the way he was able to respond with his performance. And then one other one for me was not only Kyle Pitts in the red zone, but Kyle Pitts, I think it was 5 targets. he caught all 5 passes, guys. Like Kyle Pitts is having no yardage wise, stat wise, it may not look like this fantastic season, but he's well. He's doing very well because every time they're targeting him, he's pretty much coming up with the catch. So
and I think there's more. I think there's even more for Pitts that's out there. They've just got to harness it.
Yeah.
So, as I asked last night, and it's Dukes and Bell, guys, our pre show, taking you behind the curtain, just talking about some of the things we'll get to today on the show. Some of it we won't. I was talking on social media last night and asked the question about the pistol, and I had a smart ass named Scotty who was like, yes, Carl, we're still concerned about the pistol. And I said, well, Scotty, you didn't watch the game. And he said, yes, Carl, I watch all the games. And I have to tell you that Mike Johnson said that he thought Zach Robinson was in over his head. And I said, Scotty, that solves it. Let me say this. The pistol is one formation in a very complicated offense that we're running. Yesterday, again, you saw Bijan have a lot of success. Tyler Algier have a lot of success out of it.
They also were under center too, Carl. They also have Penix under center.
Correct. But we need to calm down on this a little because it's one element. It's not the entire offense. And what happened yesterday is, going back to last week, Scotty, they executed. The freaking offensive line blocked and guys made holes that guys could run through, and we gouged the Commanders for a bunch of yards just like we did the Vikings out of the pistol. But they changed things up with some versatility. So, Mike, this is what we were talking about. You can't just be in the pistol and run the same damn thing over and over and over. Yes, that's predictable. I thought the big thing yesterday offensively, or at least one of them, was Zach gave you some different looks, including, to your point, under center.
Right. Which I just think gives Bijan a chance to be charging up to the line. But again, Tyler Algier was a battering ram. The run game was great. There are some elements there, which I think if Zach, like everyone needed to improve, certainly after last week. But Zach getting better, get Pitts more involved. I know in the Rams, the tight end was just a piece. I still think Pitts can be more of a focal point. And I also think Mooney is really banged up. I think yesterday, 1 catch for 15, Carl. I don't think you can expect a lot out of Mooney. So I would pivot a little more to Pitts if there's a way to work that in.
All right, guys. That wasn't the only big game, obviously. We had Georgia, Alabama. A lot of people looking at Kirby and saying, you didn't take the field goal. You went for it on 4th down. Critical moment in the game. But before we address that, if you are looking at us right now and you're hearing our voices and you're thinking that Kirby in any way should be fired because he has a 1-7 record against Alabama, you're out of your damn mind.
Who would even think that?
Yeah, who is that?
He is the best. Obviously, you guys haven't been on social media all weekend. He is the best damn coach in college football.
Carl, I block a lot of people. Carl, I mute and I block a lot of people on Twitter.
So, and here's the thing. A lot of that noise is coming from outside of our community, right? I'm talking about outside of Georgia, outside of Atlanta, certainly Athens, people that know the SEC. A lot of that is just they see that and they want to comment on the fact that, he can't beat this team. So let's address that. That's over. But Mike, the 4th down, I didn't like the play call. I did not like the play call. But I do think you go for it because if you get that, that's the game. That's the changing point in the game. So at home, my philosophy has always been go for it. On the road, Kirby kicked that field goal. Tie the game, let your defense work. I had no problems with the decision. 24-21, it was a hell of a game. And kudos to Alabama, by the way. Their offense looked amazing. But as far as Georgia, I'm not worried, Mike. They showed what they could do against Tennessee. This was a dogfight, pardon the pun. So if you're telling me these two teams are going to meet down the road, I like Georgia's odds and chances to handle business if it's a neutral site or whatever it might be down the road in the potential playoff. I think because there's no dominant team, guys, these teams, we got great teams all across the country. Oregon's one of them, right? Penn State showed a lot of grit. They didn't win, but that's a good football team. Georgia and Alabama, they're good football teams. So I'm not worried if I'm a Georgia fan.
Well, I will say this, though. I mean, the critics of Kirby right now, and I would agree if you say he needs more brain power in the coaching rooms. I don't think Glenn Schumann is that good. I think that, you lost something when Lanning left the building. And I think that, you need more depth. We all know about NIL and transfer portal. Georgia doesn't have the kind of stars they had in the back-to-back natties. But I don't like Schumann. It was almost like DeBoer and his guys were one step ahead of Georgia the whole game. Alabama didn't score a touchdown in the second half, but they moved the chains and they ate clock and you couldn't get them off the field. So I don't like Schumann's efforts. I'd love to get Sam Pittman back with Georgia to help beef up the O-line.
Well, that
since he
probably
got
will
let
happen
go.
because he's going to get fired.
He's gone, and Petrino's going to jump in like the little weasel he is. But getting back to Kirby, I just think there's some elements there that have got to be improved. Look, the Alabama thing, it is what it is. You know, I mean, Kalen DeBoer, that's a monster win for them. And Alabama, who's dead on arrival after losing in Tallahassee, so they're feeling 10 feet tall. Carl just nailed it. Teams are going to trip up. Everybody in this college football playoff is going to have a loss or two. But it just stings because the Alabama thing drives Georgia fans nuts.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately, too, I think in this instance, you know, it was one thing to come out slow. You know, we've seen both sides of them coming out slow now. We've seen them be
two big SEC games,
and then come back and win a game against Tennessee. But then we also now see they come out slow against the Alabama team that, yeah, you slow Alabama down in the second half, but Alabama was able to maintain what they were maintain themselves in order to keep that lead. I mean, and the biggest thing you talked about the defense, they'd allowed 19 third downs. That's like almost unheard of.
I thought I saw the stat on ABC that it's the most from a Kirby Smart team. I don't know if it's a Kirby Smart defense or or whether him as head coach, but either way, it's bad numbers. Period.
Yeah,
it is. Go ahead, D.
No, I was just gonna say. So, I mean, I think they gotta figure out the slow start thing. I think this is 2 years in a row now where we've seen these Kirby teams come out slow, early on, and I think that's something they got to figure out a way to kind of punch first, and be on the other side of that.
Yeah, because this Ole Miss game looks tough now. Ole Miss is feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Look, Shamliss, their backup is pretty damn good. So. Yeah. I thought Simmons was going to be that guy. He's been hurt, and now you're seeing the backup look even better. Georgia's going to be fine. They take on Kentucky this weekend, and then, you start looking at the Texas game later this month, which is going to be a big one. But they're going to be fine. I'm with you, Dave. That's probably the biggest concern is that slow start thing. Last year, what were they down? 21-28, something like that, Alabama on the road?
Right.
Yeah. And then you're down at home. I'm with you on that. All right, more on that today, guys. Before we get out of here, while we're talking college football, Dukes and Bill, thanks for being here. If you're checking us out, Twitch Live, YouTube, all the ways that you can access this. Thank you guys for checking us out. Tell your friends, by the way. We just chop it up before the show and give you a little insight. Georgia Tech, Brent Key's moment. And my thought was Friday, they hadn't been here before. They are the hunted now.
Right.
And Mike, we're texting on Saturday, and you're going, oh, my God, here we go, Georgia Tech. They're about to do it again. And they found a way to get it done. Right.
Now, again, I know that Wake didn't have confidence in their kicker, so they go for it. I still think you take a shot with the extra point, Carl, and you extend the game. But, they were feeling themselves. I just didn't think Wake had the kind of offense where they're in a position to go for it there. But that said, how about the job from Haynes King? I mean, somebody else has got to step up for Georgia Tech at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, Haynes King is literally the one-man gang. So it's just been a gritty effort. That's the kind of game that a Chan Gailey team would have lost. That and we talked about it. So games Jeff Collins teams lost all of those. But just like how Florida State couldn't avoid the trap, Georgia Tech did. And we'll talk about that as well because, FSU – man, there's some bad juju for UVA. Wake's a funky place to play. There was no energy, noon game. So that's a credit to Brent Key and his staff to pull that one out. Brent said there was no shouting at halftime. She said basically no reading the riot act. Guys, we know what we got to do. Let's go do it.
Yeah, and they responded 5-0 for the first time since 2014 for Georgia Tech. And the thing about Haynes King is it time to start talking about Heisman. Guys, he's throwing for 2+ and 2 touchdowns every game, and he's running for 100+ and a touchdown every game. He is having the biggest effect on their season. Now, some will say, look, if Georgia Tech goes undefeated and they go into the Georgia game, hypothetically, how is he not in that conversation? It's an award that's handed out late, not early. Right. So as good as he's been, Mike, is it hurting him that he's playing for Georgia Tech?
Yeah, and he needs more. I think the writers outside of Atlanta won't see the passing touchdowns and just won't give him the juice. Like when Cam was a one-man gang for Auburn, back in 2010, he had the incredible numbers in the air and on the ground. But I mean, I would certainly think that if he maintains this and they do get in the playoff, he's got to have a seat in New York. He's got to be in the conversation because this team's on his shoulders every week.
Well, that's part of the problem, though, for me. I'm watching the game and I'm just thinking to myself, can he maintain this type of durability long enough to where he's going to last all of the season without getting nicked up and having to sit out some games. Because, guys, like, it's great numbers, but to be 349 yards of your offense, like, and 100 of that on the ground, like, that's, I don't know, that concerns me. I'm not saying he shouldn't do it, but it's concerning that if he's doing this week in and week out, particularly the running aspect of it, is he going to be able to hold up and for the entirety of the season?
You remember I asked Brent Key that a few weeks ago, and he's like, nope, why are we holding back?
Right,
That's what he does. And I'm like, okay, until you get that shoulder dislocated trying to run people over. Because he tries to run people over.
Right.
He's not a guy that tries to slide.
No,
he's trying to get extra yards. So I love it. I love his demeanor, but that's not sustainable. And we've seen it too many times. So I hope the kid holds up. I love seeing Georgia Tech being relevant. I love this for Brent Key. He's such a good dude. He's done this the right way. His team responds. The kids love him. This is an opportunity for them, man. They got to take advantage of it. Guys.
So many winnable games, Carl, on the schedule.
And Georgia Tech in the playoff this year. It's a reality that could happen.
Right.
So that's incredible. All right, we got to go, man. 2:00. Make sure you join us. Big Falcon Monday. We're talking with you. Plenty of your phone calls as well. You got something to say you want to add in. Mike will talk plenty about the Ryder Cup, what a debacle that was. We'll get into all the other things, guys, from the weekend. Make sure you're there, 2:00 with Dukes and Bell.